This conference will now be recorded.
All right. Cool. All right, what you got? I'm ready.
So I got the call saying, hey, final payment. So I guess it'll be coming closely. I got the 24,
Okay.
and I'm the one that's going to be doing like nameplates.
Okay. Yeah.
And the piece of material that I can do on the plastic, I can order 12 by 24.
Mm-hmm.
Will that fit on the 24? Because it says the working area is like and something. Do I have to like cut off an inch of this
So,
material every time it comes in?
well, the working area of the bed is 600 by 400. I'll have to see what that is in inches, but that's not the actual size of the bed. It's actually a little bit larger. I'm trying to find a document on that now. Let's see here. I think it's in the manual. Let me see if I can find what the actual bed dimension is. So the laser will only reach a finite space, but you can put a larger object in there if that's what you're getting at. I'll see if I can find that real quick.
So it would lay flat then.
Right, 24 by 12. Yeah, let me look. I gotta see if I can find where that is. I think it's in that. I had a table with all that information on it. Let's see. And then of course you got the pass through. If it was too much larger, you could go that route as well.
Looking at the supplier and everything else, it looks like it comes in 12 by 24 sheet, which I don't need to go any bigger.
Gotcha.
Cutting out four will take long enough anyway. So
Right. So this is what I've got on the Nova 24. The actual table size is 700 by 530, which is 27.6 by 20.9. So it looks like you can get that piece on there.
And where did you find that?
It's in the manual, and I'll link that in the chat window there so you can find it. Let's see. But it's in our support site. You can just type unified manual or something like that, and it'll come up. Yeah. So let me kill that.
Oh, the table size is 27. Information into light burn. I want to put in the actual like working area, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
Very cool.
Yeah, and that's not perfectly centered either. It'll get you pretty close to center, I think. If you put the biggest possible piece of wood you can put in there, you may have to adjust your graphic a little bit, because it may reach farther to the left than it does the right on that piece, on what the difference is. But you can frame that 600 by 400, and get a good idea of where it's going to lay it out on the material, so you can move it around and get it centered up.
Got it.
So.
Okay.
All right. Good to see you on here, Danny and Glenn and you other guys. I'm David. I'm glad to see some other faces on here too. So if anybody's got any questions, feel free to jump right in. And if you would, whenever you're not talking, if you'll kill your mic for me, that would help so we don't get so much feedback. So.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Brian. Well,
I think I had two people. Who's one of you go?
I was just saying hi.
Hey, awesome. How you doing, man?
Doing good, man. Doing good.
Cool.
Thank you.
Glad you could join us. All right.
hey, Brian, this is Gene in Houston. Hey, what is the size of the exhaust port on that 3580? I want to order that AC Infinity fan, but I read it's 6 and somebody told me it was 8. I'm not sure what to order.
Yeah, well, we use standard 6-inch ducting. and peripherals for that. Technically, it's 5.7 inches, but we just buy the standard 6-inch stuff, and it seems to work well.
That good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I did order the 8-inch fan, if that's what you're asking for, just for the cubic feet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that thing puts out a good bit. That S8. I think I've got that chart here. Aftermarket specs. Let me put that up for just a minute. I don't know if I've shown you that one or not, but I made a little matrix of all the machines and the stock fans with links to those, as well as a comparison of the AC Infinity fans, and then of course the adapter you need to let the machine control it. So that's also in the support system.
Yeah, but Glenn always messing with stinky stuff, so he does need a bigger one.
Yeah. That S8 moves 807 cubic feet per minute at full blast. So it's a monster. For me, I run the 6, but
Is that adapter? Can I order that through you guys?
no, you can get it through. You can get a standard one through Amazon, or you can go to AC Infinity, and they've got it there. Something was said about theirs being a little stiff or something, and somebody found one that was made for something else, some other, dust collection or something, and found a reducer that fit a little better. But I don't actually remember that discussion. It was on one of the threads at one point. But any standard 6 to 8-inch reducer should do fine.
I was thinking about the plug. You showed up a plug.
Gotcha.
That's only if you want to hook it to your machine, so your machine controls the fan. I found that I ran the fan separately.
Yeah.
Because it does take a second for it to spool up. So I always turn my fan on first, then turn my laser on. And by the time I shut the lid, the fan's up and running. It's ready to go.
Yeah, they spool up a little slower. I just deal with mine. I let the smoke build up just a little, and then it'll evacuate. But I've just got the 6, so it won't move quite as much air. It doesn't evacuate as quickly as that 8 does. But yeah, if you want it controlled by the laser, still controlled by the TL timer board, then you would need this adapter to fit that IEC connector on the back. But like Glenn said, a lot of people choose to just start it manually, which kind of defeats the purpose of the automation of the system, but sometimes it's more effective that way.
Hey, Brian, is there a way to adjust the lead time on the system on that?
No, there is on the dwell time afterwards, where you can choose whether it stays on 10 seconds or 15 seconds afterwards, but not beforehand. It's not easy to tell the controller, I want to send you some information to start, but I want you to wait a minute. So that has a little bit more to do with the controller on the front end, trying to get it to start before the job initiates, and that's a pretty high obstacle to clear to make it do it. So.
Well, Brian, there's one little note that you should always mention. The old timers on this call pick on each other, so any new timers, don't take it personally. Just we like to make fun of each other.
Right. So.
Especially, I didn't want somebody to say, "Oh my God, Awesome's so mean to Glenn." Well, I do the same to David too occasionally. Or Robert.
It all works. If you can't take it, I'm sorry.
Right.
Yeah, I know, but we've got some new family members. I don't want them to feel like, oh my God, this group is mean. No, we just pick on each other. That's more fun.
I wouldn't know you like me if you didn't pick on me, Awesome.
We don't pick on you, man. You're just not worth wasting time, man.
I don't know if that's a compliment or not. I don't think so. So cool. Well, has anybody else got anything? If you do, feel free to jump in. Robert K, good to see you in here.
Jake put a good comment. I don't quite understand. I think it makes sense.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, buddy. How you doing?
Good. Hanging in there.
All right.
Just so I don't remember who was asking about the fan, but just so they know, I mean, just ideas or whatever. Not mine's good for everybody or whatever, but I got a new webcam, so I'm sorry if this is but so that's what I did. If you can see back there, The 6-inch duct is triangle. The 6-inch duct is coming from the machine, and then it goes into a filter box I built, and then on top of that is the 8-inch outlet. So then that goes up into my attic into the fan.
Right.
I chose to put all those filters there because I don't want to have to get up in my attic and clean my fan all the time, so I can just yank those filters out and change them, pretty
Right.
religiously.
Sure.
And then as far as, I don't know if you can see I know it's, like I said, it's a webcam, but there's that little black, your switches right there, right above that is the AC Infinity controller. So I just hit that controller and put it on
Right.
full speed. By the time I go and hit the power on for the laser and go and close my lid, it's spooled up and ready to go. So it works out pretty good.
Right. Right.
And those who are wondering, Glenn is not exhausting in his attic. He is exhausting out.
No. It goes it goes above the roof and comes out of a proper a vent up there. And
I've seen
it's
a couple of notes, Glenn, so I'm making sure everybody understands you didn't do that.
no, I did not vent into my attic. Sorry, I should have elaborated. My apologies.
Glenn, a question on how you vent that. Are you going into a turbine style vent on the roof?
No, it's pretty standard, like what you would see on a dryer vent, I guess, but a much larger version because it's 8 inches, 8-inch inlet on it. So it's just a really large version of a dryer vent. It does have a flapper on it, so it does close when it's not being used, and it jumps open. Yeah, he's oops, stop. You got the 8-inch roof cap right there. It's very similar to what I have. Up one to your right. Yeah, there you go. That's very similar to what mine looks like. It's not the exact one, but it's very similar.
Yeah, I was just curious if maybe you just went through like a normal turbine roof vent just for the aesthetic of it.
I would guess that would work out fine. Mine's on the back of my house and kind of high, kind of midway on the roof, so it's not really that big a deal, for aesthetics for me. And I chose black, and I have a gray roof, so it works out.
Cool.
I have a question for you whenever there's time.
Absolutely.
So I'm new to the group. My name's Lonnie, and I just ordered a week ago a Nova 35-100. So obviously I'm going through that waiting period and anxious for that. Got lots of prep to do, but I did have a question about the exhaust. And I may have missed a little bit at the beginning here, but
Okay.
we recently built a house, just been in it less than a year. And in anticipation of hopefully doing this, I had a dryer vent type installed. My shop's in the basement, and so I had a vent put in to accommodate that. It's actually above the concrete. It's through the wall, but it's brick on the outside. However, I didn't do enough research, and it's a 4-inch instead of a 6-inch. So I guess my question is, and I think I probably know the answer, would it be acceptable to run that 6-inch up and then reduce it right at the vent, or should I go to the trouble to go ahead and open that up?
What you said, which machine, the 35?
It's the 35-100, correct?
If I were you, I would make that a 6-inch. We've had someone else try to go through a 4-inch vent that was already existing, and they noticed that there was a pretty good decrease in performance.
Back pressure kind of thing. Yeah, I understand. And I was afraid that might be the answer, and that's fine. Be a job, but I know it can be done. So I wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, I mean, you could always give it a try, but from a few other experiences, they had, not so successful outcomes trying to reduce it. If that is, an absolute last ditch thing, you could hook it up and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it were me, especially, if I was going to put, getting taken all the time to put this thing in, I think I would go ahead before the fact and knock that thing out and try to get a 6-inch outlet.
Right. Yeah, I want to do it right, and I figured that was probably the answer. I thought it was worth asking. And then one more question, if I could, along that line. I noticed the information on the 6-inch inline fans that, there's information on the website and so on. It looks like the CFM is a little bit lower than the one that's supplied with the machine. And yeah, and I just wondered, is that enough to even be concerned about, or will this will this inline work, work as good as the one that comes with the machine? Any thoughts on that?
Right. So the 6-inch inline, well, let me go back to that other one. Let me see if I can find it aftermarket. So on the Nova 35, of course, it comes with that CTD, the CZTD 550, which moves 482.6 CFM.
Okay.
And then on the S, what were you looking at, the S6, it moves 402. So yes,
Right.
it is a little bit less. That's why a lot of people move up to the S8, which doubles your output,
Okay.
for another 70 bucks or 60 bucks or whatever. So if you wanted to be safe about it and make sure that you have sufficient flow, you might want to go with the 8. I've got a 6 and it does me fine. But I'm not in a real, not even a low production environment. Really, I don't make a lot of things. I don't run my laser a lot. So it may be worth the benefit of getting an 8-inch fan in there just to get that little extra over the top.
Okay.
And I've got the 8-inch and a Nova 63, and the majority of the stuff I do is with the lid open, and most of the time it still pulls it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Sure, absolutely. Does anybody else have anything?
I'd just like to say I'm new. I'm still waiting on my machine too. It's a 35-100 and
Okay.
should be here any day.
All right. Have you been
I've not
playing
got
around
any
in Lightburn?
information, but I ordered it the 24th of December, I think. It was supposed to be here by the end of March. It's the 1st of April, so hopefully I'll hear something any day.
We're getting a lot of flack on the logistics, which isn't really in my wheelhouse, but we're looking to see what we can do because we always use UPS freight. That's who we've used forever, and they've always been great. But sometimes they farm it out to Roadrunner or some of these others because they may not have a hub close or may not be able to handle it. So a lot of times that's where that stuff comes in. So we're looking at doing everything we can possibly do, short of starting our own transportation company, to try to get these machines here a little more reliably.
Well, I personally ain't never even seen one. I just seen them online, and then I ended up looking at them. Seemed like something I was interested in. My wife does T-shirts and all kind of stuff like that, and I thought, well, she's just retired, and I'm getting ready to retire in about 2 more years, so I'm not in no business with it or nothing, but I plan on it.
Sure.
So I figure I get it now. Maybe by the time I retire, I might learn how to do something with it.
Oh yeah, you're gonna have a lot of fun with it.
So. And
well,
I'm in East Tennessee, so it may take forever to get here.
Well, I'm in Middle Tennessee, so of course back then it didn't take, once it hits at the time, once it hits LA, it only took about 2.5 or 3 weeks to get pretty much anywhere in the US. Of course, that's probably a little slower now with everything going on. But
where you live in Tennessee?
The Suez Canal is open, so it should be on its way.
Yeah. What's that, John?
I said, where do you live in Tennessee?
Murfreesboro, about 30 miles southeast of Nashville.
Oh, I know Murfreesboro. I go to the VA hospital in Murfreesboro.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yep. I know where you at, but like I said, I don't know nothing about. I've got the Lightburn, got the key and all that. Been playing with it a little bit. So I'm excited to get it. I ended up with COVID, so I'm not really ready for it, but I'm trying to get ready.
Gotcha.
So being late ain't hurting me too bad, because
right.
I'm not
You'll
ready.
Hopefully be ready to jump right in when it gets there. So.
Well, I hope so, but I'm sure that I'm gonna have some dumb questions when I get it, trying to figure it out. But as far as mechanical and electrical and all that, I'm good with that. It's just the program's probably where I'll have problems.
I got you. Well, don't forget about that 1 hour training. We can get you signed up for that. I can put the link in the chat there if you want.
But I need to have the machine right before I do that.
Typically, it's best to. That way you don't burn up your training on trying to get the machine going. Right. And if you have trouble in the meantime, you can just hit us up on the support site and we can do a quick, remote in if we need to and get you going. That way we don't waste all your training time on fixing problems. So,
all right.
Let's see. That is for there we go. It
Okay,
should
yeah, I
be
think
good. So.
I've been in the support side in the main web page, I think,
Okay.
looking at
Okay.
stuff.
Gotcha. But yeah, there's two calendars there, one for me and one for Chris. And he has a lot of evening and weekend slots that I don't have, where mine are more during the day, more banker's hours kind of things. But, if I'm up at 2 o'clock in the morning, letting the dog out to go to the bathroom and there's a support call that pops up, I'm liable to sit down and answer it. So you never know.
Yeah, well, I work swing
So,
shift. If I'm not at work, I'm going to be in bed at 2 in the morning.
okay.
Dog will have to wait.
Right.
All right. Well, I just wanted to let you know who it was. And
Awesome.
it's
All right. Glad you could
nice
join
to see
us.
everybody.
So, all right.
My machine has made it to Charlotte, North Carolina. It's been sitting there for about 5 days, and
Okay.
I've had a little session with Central Freight, and they're supposedly sending it to Greensboro, which is another day shorter. So hopefully I'll have it in the next couple of days.
Light at the end of the tunnel, man.
I'm looking forward to it. That little letter that I got from Rebecca saying potentially being early, forget it. It wasn't potential this time.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a mess sometimes. So, all right. Well, does anybody else have any questions that you can think of?
I do have one more question if I could.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I heard someone mention about Lightburn a while ago. I know license for that comes with the equipment and so on, but can you get it? You must be able to go ahead and get it early. I would like to go ahead and get it so that I can kind of be familiarizing myself with it. How do I do that?
Sure. So I've got a mock. Let me kick the thing back on here, and I'll put a link to this also. I've got a little video here on how to set up the trial for Lightburn. You get a 30-day trial, and if it runs past 30 days, you can email Lightburn support and ask them to extend your trial, and they're real good about that.
Okay, very
But
good.
yeah, and I'll put that link to this in the chat as well, so everybody can have that. And that video will show you how to set it up specific to your machine. That way, when it does get there, you won't have too much heavy lifting. You can just plug it in and go, and you'll be used to it already in the right size and format and everything.
Very good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And another thing, while we're talking about these tickets, I did one, I added to it on the chiller, and this is not one of the few articles that's not Thunder specific, because we've got quite a bit of stuff on our machine that's different than a lot of the machines, but these are all living articles, and I think it shows when they were last updated, where it was last modified. So you ought to look at that, because an article that you looked at 6 months ago may have different information or added information in it. So this is pretty much a one-stop guide to the chiller. It shows theory of operations, how to check and clean everything. And so it's a real good at-a-glance resource for pretty much everything chiller. And it's called Chiller Diagnostics and Theory of Operation. So I'll paste that in there too. So, point being, go back and check the tickets, the articles pretty frequently, because we do go in and change them. So, and I don't know what that is, but I need to fix it. There's an H in the table of contents, and I don't know what that is. So, okay. Sorry, I got sidetracked for a minute. I found a typo. So.
Hi, my name is April. I have a couple of questions. I'm pretty new. I ordered my laser. I think I'm slated for like June, so I did the 35 100. But I have a couple of questions. So
Okay.
I do woodworking, so I make a lot of things with scroll saws and such. So this is just kind of gonna amp up some of the stuff that I already kind of do.
Mm-hmm.
But I've also worked with a Cameo, so I'm familiar with SVGs, and so I've played around in Lightroom a little bit, so I'm familiar with it. But some of the questions I have are more related to mechanical things that I don't really understand, and I'm just wondering if somebody would explain some of the things. For example, the air assist. I get the purpose. I get the low stage and the high stage. I'm understanding that, but what is the purpose of the air assist? Like, what does it do, and what benefits, in each circumstances do you need it?
Gotcha. So you always want a little bit of air, at least, even when you're engraving, and you probably hear that. Yet you typically want lower air when you engrave for a better output, as opposed to if you were cutting, you want to have that extra, air to help with that. The primary thing for the air assist is to keep the smoke away from the lens and help keep the lens cool. So it's to protect the
Gotcha.
optics. The secondary reason is to mitigate flames and flare-ups. So those are the two
Okay.
most important reasons. The effect that it has on the engraving is kind of, secondary to those things, but it does allow you to change contrast and things like that depending on the substrate that you're working with, and affect better cuts and things like that depending on what airflow you're using. So we allow for 2 stages so you can accomplish more than one air assist, volume in that one job, and not have to stop like a lot of them and change your air pressure and then run the second part. So it just kind of helps with that
Okay.
part. But primarily it's for keeping the lens safe and cool and clean, and also, mitigating the flames and flare ups and things like that.
Okay. Okay, that
April,
makes
the
sense.
other thing is think about it as your scroll saw. I don't know if you have the little
Hmm.
air assist on it.
Yes. Yes. To
Think of
blow the
it
air out of the
same,
way.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. It's same kind of
clears out the
concept.
debris field. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
you have a
That
lot of
makes sense.
woodworkers here, so we can help you anytime.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And then the other question that I had, I started with the cheat sheets. I've been going through each page and watching all of the videos, so I literally have nothing else to do with myself. And one of the videos I was watching last night was in regards to the different lenses. And we were talking about the focus plane, and then you were talking about focusing halfway into the material. Why would you want to focus halfway into the material, and what difference does that make?
On thicker materials, you can get a taper with the 2-inch lens because you're focusing at the surface, and the lens actually looks like an hourglass. It diverges and converges, or converges and diverges, actually. So it's subtle, but it's there. So on thicker material, you can see a taper, and also the center of the beam, or that tightest, the focal point is the most dense, best, most powerful part of the beam as well. So a lot of times if you focus into the material, you're putting the best part of the beam dead center. So you'll get flatter edges. You'll just get a better outcome because you've kind of shifted that convergence, where you've got it in the middle of the material for the hottest part. Because um, like for instance, you may want to do that so that you can get all the way through a piece. If you're cutting through a piece of 1/2-inch ply, for instance, I usually keep my nozzle about 2 millimeters from the surface, which is about 4 millimeters deep. I want to get as deep as I can in there and not contact the head, just so that you get close, close to the middle, as close as you can. And the
Okay.
4-inch lens actually expands on that, because you can go up to 9 millimeters into a material with that 4-inch lens, and it has a
Okay.
longer focal depth, so it's flatter for a longer distance than the 2-inch lens is. So cutting foam and thicker things like that, the 4-inch really helps flatten out the edges and not get that taper.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, and I ordered all of the lenses so that I wasn't sure exactly what I would need, so I just ordered them all to make sure I would have them.
Sure.
And then the last question, and I don't mean to hijack it, so I'm sorry. So the last
No, you're
question
fine.
I have is about the external exhaust that comes with it. So I have an electrician that's going to be doing my dedicated outlet for this, because this is actually going to go in my garage here in Houston, or Humble actually. And when I was reading on the exhaust, they were saying that it's really loud. And someone, I can't remember what video I watched, but they were saying, oh, you might want to use headphones and stuff. But is it really that loud for the exhaust? Like, is it really bad?
It sounds about like a commercial vacuum cleaner. I did a thing on it, and I think with the entire machine running, it was 79 decibels or something like that. That's with the chiller and all the machine actually firing, and the chiller under a compression cycle, and the exhaust fan at full blast. So I mean, it's not deafening, but you can't talk on the phone. If you're anywhere near it, it'll just be too much of an annoyance. So that's why a lot of people go with those AC Infinity inlines for the ones that have those louder fans on them.
Hey,
Okay.
April,
But you
one number
can
we
just
just
buy
tell
it without.
people, it's the water pump running on my pool. They don't mind you then.
So what? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
I said, in Humble over here, we just simply say, it's just my water pool. Don't worry about it. Go back to your house.
Are you in Humble also?
Yeah, I am.
That's crazy. Wow. Okay. What a small world. So do you have a machine I can come and see use? Because I just really want to see somebody work their machine.
I just got the Nova 24. I ain't got the one that you're getting.
Okay.
Or like Glenn's. Glenn's, I could go take a rest. I'm so short. Put a bed in there and go to sleep.
Probably could. So he might wake up with a red dot on his forehead.
Thanks for the help, Brad. You're supposed to help me out here.
Well, I was talking about Glenn. You were talking about him laying in it, right? Or was that you?
No, that was me. I'm so short. I could just fit in his machine.
I could probably do it too. So, but let's see. Yeah, that was my backup plan, is to show you my new article. So if anybody else has any questions, we still got 30 minutes to burn, so you can ask as many as you like.
Well, it looks like we got a ton of new people in here. I'm sure they got
Yeah.
some questions.
Hope so. Looks like George had his hand up.
Figured it's easier to put your hand up that way. So before I start, first I want to say thank you to John H. for your service in the military. So thank you. I picked up on that when you were talking. Congrats to the other new owners. And I flew out to see Grant on Monday, and I pulled the trigger on a 51-100.
Nice.
So I'm now waiting to see how long it's going to take, but shipping is shipping, right? I used to import from China, so I know the woes. I did have a couple questions specifically around the exhaust, and we were getting into that. So I was actually a lot of my questions were answered. So thank you to everybody.
Sure.
I'm building a garage for the laser, so that's first. Once it's in place, my goal was to vent it through the roof and put a B vent on it, because the B vent will get me like another 3-foot extension. One of my key concerns is where I live in New Jersey, the houses are all about 15 feet apart. So once the garage is in place, I'll have about 15 feet to my neighbor's window, and that's their bedroom. Obviously, if I'm burning acrylic, I don't want that smell getting into their house.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody have any suggestions besides adding a 3-foot extension onto the B vent to get it up high? And I run an S8 exhaust fan. Is that going to be enough to throw the material out and high enough?
I'll say that I'll tell you that when it is burning, if the air is if the wind is correct and we go out to or you can see it that our porch is right outside there, you can smell it, and it's not horrible, but I mean you can definitely smell it. Most of the time I'm burning a lot of wood, so it just smells like somebody's fireplace, no big deal. My suggestion would just be, since you're running it through the attic anyway, just go to the other side of the roof and go out to your backyard or something. That way maybe it's a little bit further away from them.
And then Glenn, are you running that inline fan before your filter or after?
After the filter, because my fan is up in the attic and I don't want to have to get up there and clean that fan all the time. So
that's what I was thinking about too, is just sectioning it off from the roof of the garage. And this way it's quieter you can get. It's going to be an S8. It's pretty nil for noise level.
Right.
My thought was, the farther away I can get it, the better. And then to answer April's question, I heard a 51-100 going in the office. Even with the compressor that it comes with, it barely makes a noise. You and I could be talking, standing next to each other, talking quietly.
Yeah.
We're louder than the machine. I was shocked.
The machine itself is relatively quiet. There's not a whole lot going on in that machine that's noisy. So it's just the peripherals. So.
Hey, Brian, can George use
little trick is
or no?
What's that?
George, another little trick is to make a gift and give it to your neighbor before they start complaining. Then they feel guilty about complaining.
Yeah. make them an acrylic something and take it over and say, if you ever smell this smell, don't think that I'm cooking meth or something. You know, it's just a plastic and it's safe. And I just want to let you know about it. Maybe they'll be okay with it.
Usually in Jersey, it's whichever person talks more Italian wins.
Okay.
Hey, Brian, can
Yeah.
George do something like Glenn has, but put carbon filters to kind of kill the smell of it? Especially since he said the neighbor's bedroom window's right there by his exhaust.
Yeah, you could probably add some filtration to help mitigate that smell some. Of course, that's all that's going to do is mean you're going to have to change filters more because if it's not going outside, it's going to be going in your filters, accumulating. And so it'll be higher maintenance. Depending on how fine of a filter you want to put in there, which would have to be pretty fine to catch that acrylic. That's pretty fine stuff.
Hi, my name is Hardeep. I'm a new person here. I'm up in Canada,
Hey,
and I have a question.
sure, absolutely.
So I've ordered a Thunder 24, and I'm going to put it in my garage.
Mhm.
How long can the line be from the fan to the end of the exhaust?
I think it comes with somewhere around 40 feet in there. I think each one's about 20 feet long, fully stretched out. So I would say that you could go 40 feet because we
Oh,
include
okay.
enough to go that far.
Right.
Approximately.
I'm going to put a solid pipe there, but it was only about 10 feet or so. So I was just wondering. So if it's 40 feet, then I'm very well off then. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're doing very well, especially if you're going to use rigid ducting. I think
Yeah.
that's what I understood. Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. Yes. Great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, rigid definitely moves better, but I mean, you always want to get your fan as close to the exit as possible. But I mean, if you
Oh,
can't, you can't. But you always want to try and get your fan as close to the exit. You
I
want to
thought
pull,
the
not push.
I thought the fan should be close to the machine.
No, if the closer it is to the machine, the more of your exhaust plenum is positively pressured. And you ideally want negative pressure in there because if you do develop a leak, it could blow it right back out that hole. So if you have your
Okay.
fan as close as you can to the outlet, it is going to create
Okay.
a vacuum through most of that system so that
Right.
it'll have a less possibility of ejecting it into the workspace.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Mhm.
So I'm going to set this up before I get the machine. How much space should I leave for the fan? Because the 24, I believe, comes with an inline fan, right? So
It does.
how much space should I leave in there to install the fan?
Oh, well, you'll need at a minimum, probably 8 inches at the back of the unit, just so for the peripherals to fit behind it between the
No,
machine and the
I
wall.
mean, sorry, Brian, I meant near the exit. Like, how much space should I leave to put the fan in at near the exit?
Oh, I see. You talking about the physical dimension of the fan from the inlet to the outlet?
No, the width of the fan itself. So if I'm going to put
Right.
a rigid line there, then I need to put the fan in that rigid line, right? When I get the machine.
Yeah,
So I
let
just
me
want
look
to
it
know
up and see. I don't
how
have one
much.
of those fans in my hands to measure, and I'm not sure if there are even specifications for that. Let's see. I don't see dimensions. They may be somewhere. I'm not exactly sure. It may be best to get somebody with a Nova 24 to measure that, and I can let you know.
Brian,
I
the
can.
24, is it
Yeah,
still using the old, like the AC line fan, or is it the different one?
yeah, it's the Vitronic. It's the W150. I'll put a picture of it up.
Okay, because I just changed out that one. Yeah, give me a few minutes, I'll figure that out for you.
Oh, cool. Perfect.
Thank you. Thank you very
Mhm.
much.
Sure.
Brian, I piped mine about 70 feet, and thanks to Glenn, I made a box similar to his or my heat and air conditioning man, and I've got it close to my machine. But
Mhm.
my fan is on the other end, and so we put a designated plug down there, so it's plugged in, and I have a switch right there close to the machine. So I turn my fan on and turn my air. I've got uh, air in service too, right there
Right.
together before I crank up the machine. So they're
Gotcha.
all there together, and I can clean
Gotcha.
out. Glenn, I don't have to get up as high as you do to clean it out, but that's why I got and get a hold of it. And you may want to tell people about that. I don't have the filter, Glenn. What was the name of the filter, Brian? The washable filter?
Oh, was that electrostatic one,
No,
or
the one we
just the washable?
Glenn's got.
Yeah, I slipped since then. I forgot what it was. I can try to go back and look. Glenn's got it down there. I'm just gonna watch him for a minute until he realizes we can't hear him.
Glenn, what's the MERV rating on that?
I heard that, Brian. Okay, so this is the one that I got. That's first. I got two in there, and this is the washable one. This is going to collect the bigger stuff. I just bought another one, so I don't have to sit there and wash one and wait for it to dry, and then that's what this looks like. And it's just going to catch the big stuff, but it's electrostatic, so it does catch a lot of small stuff also. And then I use a standard Home Depot one behind it, so there's two of them stacked in there. And
they're 12 by 12.
They're 12 by 12 is what I'm using. Yes. Now I've seen some people using 18 by 18s and stuff like that, 20 by 20s. Obviously, I think the bigger probably you go, the easier it is, and the easier it is on your fan, and then also it gives you a lot bigger area to collect junk, and you wouldn't have to change it as often. In hindsight, after I built mine for 12 by 12, if I had to build it again, I would do probably 18 by 18.
So can I ask, so are you building a box that is before your exhaust fan that these filters are there to run through? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah. See up there on the wall?
Yeah.
You see the 6-inch tube going into the box, and there's an 8-inch tube coming out. In that box, there's two filters. I actually got it set up for 3 filters if I want, but I haven't really seen a need for the third filter yet, but we'll see.
Okay.
As time goes.
Okay. And that's before your exhaust fan to kind of protect your exhaust fan, I guess. Is that what
Correct.
it's more or less for?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and
it's
like I said, those cloud lines, they're super easy to clean. You take 2 collars off, and then the whole middle section comes out of them to clean them. But my problem is I got to go up in my attic to get to my fan. So I don't really want to go up in my attic very often. So that's why I put that filter there. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't even have put a filter there if it was like in Brian, if you've seen Brian's room, or I don't know if it's still set up like that, but it's right on the wall right behind his machine. So there's really no need to have them filters. He can clean that thing as fast as I can clean filters probably.
Okay, so if your fan is, I guess, close enough or within proximity, you don't necessarily need the filters. It's more of, okay.
Yeah, see, I've got mine mounted to the wall, so I can get to mine, and they're at head level, so I can get to them easily. And then I've just got dryer vents way up high, and it looks stupid on the side of my garage, but I don't care. And so, yeah, I don't have any filters or anything just because it's so easy for me to get to that fan and just clean it. So.
Yeah. So my husband is not allowing me to go through the brick of our garage. We literally have just built this house about a year ago. So he won't let me go through the brick. So I'm actually going to go up through, because our attic is right above. So we were going to go up the attic and out a soffit on the side of the house because he didn't want to go through the roof either. So how much clearance for that, for the exhaust fan, because I was going to keep that all there and not worry about it being in the attic and just have the actual hose go through the attic after the exhaust fan. So how much space from the wall does the laser actually need for the 35? And the fan that comes with it, is that one I can also mount, or do I need to get a different one?
You can mount the one that comes with it. Let me see if I've got a picture of it here. I think it shows. Let's see. There's that one. Yeah. See, it's got a foot, so you can actually put it to a piece of wood or something and mount it. That centrifugal fan may vibrate a little bit. I don't know. I haven't tried mounting mine. Mine sits on the floor with a piece of foam underneath it when I was using it. And then, of course, the AC Infinities just mount to the wall. But, you need 8 inches or so at a minimum behind the machine, for all of your peripherals and things like that are in there. Now, if
Okay.
you're going to get an infinity fan and mount it on the wall, or up the wall a little bit before it goes into the attic, then of course you wouldn't have to have that extra. You'd still have to have enough room for the hose to come out and make a turn, out of the back of the unit and that kind of stuff. But there's not a
Okay.
lot of stuff that goes back behind there. But a minimum, I'd say, of 8 inches.
Okay.
You also might want to think about maintenance on your machine and stuff also, because if you're constantly having to move your machine, you're probably going to throw your machine out of level a little bit by moving it around. Preferably don't move the machine once you got it leveled and hard mounted, so you can scoot around your
Yeah.
machine.
Yeah, I've got about, I guess, a foot or 16 inches, and I can squeeze,
That's
barely
exactly what
squeeze
I did.
sideways
Yeah.
around it in case I need to get to the back and open up and look at the tube, or check the current meter on the power supply or something like that, because eventually at some point you'll probably have to access the rear and, both sides of the machine as well. So, and they do have rollers, and I'm one of those people. I just roll mine out when I need to, but if it's something that you want to think about as you're, setting it up, then it's good to keep that in mind, to have a little clearance for maintenance and adjustment and things like that. So.
I've got about 18 inches behind mine.
Mm-hmm. So, but I haven't had to do much. I've taken parts out of mine to send to people, but I haven't had to fix anything, and it's still got the original alignment from when it came out of the box almost 2 years ago. So I've been lucky.
Do you have any recommendations for filtration as far as like what MERV rating to go with?
Not really, and I know just enough about the extractors and stuff like that to be dangerous. And we've got some specifications on the extractors that we actually prescribe for each machine, and it does have some filtration information there.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it gets into, their filtration with the actual specifications, but I can get that for you if it's not in there. But that would be the closest thing I would have to information on, on that would be just whatever they prescribe for the machine that I'm looking at, and then looking at the filters in there. And there's a carbon filter also that can go on those things. So there's a bunch of different ways you can go. I always wondered if you got a big thing like you remember the rainbow vacuum cleaners? And those things were crazy. You could turn them on and the water would just get dirty, sucking the dirt out of the air. Can you imagine running the laser through that? That would probably get everything. You'd have to use a 400-gallon container or something, or you'd have to dump the water every 5 minutes. But that would be a neat filter. That seemed to work for about anything, smoke or dust or whatever you throw at it. Maybe that's something we could experiment with. I mean, there's already water running through that laser, and there's 30,000 volts running through the tube, so a little more water splashing around won't hurt anything, will it? So,
can you create a video while you're doing that just so I can experience it?
If I do that, I will definitely have it on video, but I'm probably not gonna. So.
Dang, I was gonna start betting $1, $2, see what happens to you.
Yeah, there's a bunch of things I want to experiment with, but filtration is not up there on the list yet. It may be, because it comes up more and more. So
I just love that video of yours where you're explaining how to do a few things and you pull that freaking 110 out and like, oops, maybe I shouldn't be doing that. You plug it right back in.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I kind of give good advice sometimes, but I don't usually take my own advice, and I probably should. But yeah, if anybody else has any other questions, we've got a little more time, so feel free to ask away.
I posted the answer for Hardeep, but I guess he ran off. Didn't like the American answer.
I copied it and I accidentally pasted it in there again by accident. I'm gonna check. I've got some information on him. I'll get that to him somehow. I think I've got his phone number. If not, I think I've got an email for him. So I'll get back with him if he doesn't pop back in here and follow up with him on that. I appreciate you getting those dimensions.
That's all right. I try to help all my fellow Americans, but occasionally a Canadian's okay with my parents and Canadians. Okay?
Right. So, And I did another video. You remember the one I did awesome? I don't know, about a year ago, that it was just Thunder and Boss, and I basically went through the site and like tried to make them the same.
Yeah.
I did another one with the big three. I included Aeon this time, and I haven't published it yet. But since you guys are on here and nobody usually watches to the very, very end of the thing, I'm going to give y'all the link to it and tell me what you think. Let's see. My take on the big three. There it is. I tried to be objective. And I messed some words up as usual and that kind of thing, but this was unscripted totally. So there it is. I put it in the chat thing. It's about 20 minutes long, and it's just my observations, from a technical aspect, from machine to machine. I gleaned a lot of that from some of the stuff you put together in your cheat sheet or your matrix, your comparison. Awesome. And then a few other things that I was mentioning about service toward the end. So let me know what you think about that video, if it's too direct or harsh, or, I'm not bad mouthing anything really. It's just the technical specifications. That's what I look at. So
I'll
anyway,
take a look at it, man. I prefer non-PC anyway, man. That's what to do it.
yeah,
That's
I
why I
have
was
to.
already. I'll never go to management because I'm too freaking honest. Like, okay, good.
So, oh, for those of you talking about the roof, I forgot about this. Ron, he hadn't been on here in a little bit, but he also made a video. It's on the venting the exhaust article at the very bottom. He shows how he went out his exhaust, or exhausted through the roof, and he made a little tutorial or a little video explaining what he did. So that might be beneficial to somebody.
I think he's the one I heard that said he wear headphones because of the fan, and I was like, really?
That might
That's
have
what
been.
made
He
me
may
start
have
thinking.
said that. Yeah. Of course, I'm old school. I cut grass or do whatever, and I don't ever usually wear hearing protection. I never did, and I haven't seemed to need it with the laser. Um, like I said, I measured the highest decibel level at around 79 dB with everything all in. So, it's not quiet, but it's not deafening either. So,
Well, I know that gray is louder than my air compressor.
yeah. Yeah. Now, somebody did say that they put one of those sound deadeners or something in conjunction with our stock centrifugal fan, and it significantly lowered the sound pressure levels. I
Box
don't know
around.
if no, this went in line. It was like it decreased the turbulence or something, and they said that it made a difference in the sound. So, and I'll have to go back. I saw that in passing in one of the Facebook groups or something. And sometimes it's hard to find stuff in Facebook groups, even if you go do a search, you got too many filters. But I'll go back and see if I can find that. But I think there was some sort of inline noise reduction system or something. It might have been Cloudline that had it on their site. The reason somebody found it, they got quite a bit of stuff on there that people are using.
Brian, the only feedback I'll give you on the video, based on my line of work I do, the competition can call you out on it, especially if they make the adjustment. If, like, for instance, you point out that they don't have this and they put it, and in the next model they fix it, then they can say, oh, you're misinforming our customers on what we do not or do offer. So just be a little bit careful of that.
Right.
Because that happened with us. Somebody was playing a video of, actually it was a PowerPoint presentation, and the competition came over and just started screaming at the trade show. I mean, it made them look like idiots, but they were right. So I mitigated by saying, all right, I'll take this line out because you're right, it's incorrect, but the rest I'm leaving in.
Okay, yeah, I'll go back and look. Sure, cool. Thanks for the feedback.
Or say, as of this date, this is what it was.
Correct, yeah.
Right. Yeah, the devil's in the details, that's for sure.
Yeah, just as long as you cover the aspect that it might have changed, it could change, or it might change in the future. You kind of said, sorry, right now as of this date, you didn't have it. I made it based on that, but it could change later in the future.
Right. Okay. Sweet. So, Well, does anybody else have any last minute questions? We still got a few more minutes if anybody's got anything.
We're considering moving to Chattanooga,
Mm-hmm.
and I know a couple of you guys are from Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
I guess my first question is, how do you like living there?
Well, I'm a native of Tennessee, so I wouldn't be able to compare it with anything else. But I grew up out in the country and just moved into the city, if you want to call it, if you want to call Murfreesboro a city. I guess it is a couple of years ago. But I enjoy it. I like Murfreesboro. Nashville and Franklin, some of the bigger cities, at least in Middle Tennessee, are a little crowded, I'm sure, as is Chattanooga and Knoxville and all, the rest of the world. But that seems to be a good place for me. I've never said I got to get out of here, not yet, anyway. So, and so yeah, also Chris Myers, which is our other tech, he's in Knoxville or near Knoxville, so he's in Tennessee as well. So seems like we have a lot of people in Tennessee. We got a lot of people in Texas, I guess, just because that's where we're based out of. But we've got more and more, because I've watched ever since the beginning, and there was no one else from Tennessee besides me. And now we're really starting to get those numbers up. So that's a good thing. We can all get together and have a powwow, have a thunder meeting once every quarter or half every year or something, just to say hi.
We'll make Clay pay for it.
There you go. It's a business expense, right?
I live halfway between Knoxville and Chattanooga, and I wouldn't live nowhere else myself. I've been all over the world in the military.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't nowhere like Tennessee for home, as far as I'm concerned, anyway.
Yeah, I see John from Kentucky. My in-laws, I grew up in Clarksville. I was born in Clarksville, right on the line, and my dad was in the military there. And sure thing, Greg. No problem.
Fort
Looks like he had
Campbell,
to
I've
jump
been
off.
there too.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I've been to New York and Jersey. I've been a couple of times. When I worked for Samsung, I had to go down there for a couple of months for training, and I loved New Jersey. I loved Times Square. I loved going there, but I wouldn't want to stay. Just too many people for me. But when I went, you always hear these stories, and I went kind of down toward Harlem by accident. But over at Central Park and all that stuff, everything was clean. Everybody was nice, not in a Southern nice way. Not saying hi and waving, but like I stepped on this lady's foot in this little grocery store that I went into. And, I'm like, I'm sorry. And she's like, whatever, just go on. And she didn't say it to be mean. I didn't take it that way. She just said it because oh, I'll get my foot stepped on 100 times a day. It's really no big deal, but I enjoyed it, but I still like to come home. Well, all right. I tell you what, I think if we don't have any more questions, I'm going to hit stop on this recording.